Hello and welcome everybody to this webinar on how to build reliable agents and deploy them in a few simple steps using the KNIME Analytics Platform and KNIME Community Hub. This webinar also doubles as our release webinar for KNIME Analytics Platform 5.5, which came out just a few weeks ago. My name is Adrian. In my day job, I am the team lead of the AI team here at KNIME, but today I will be your host throughout this little webinar. Today I will be joined by three of my colleagues. The first will be Emilio. Emilio helped us a lot with building the agentic framework and kind of co-building educational material around that. So you can imagine what he might be talking about. After him, we will have Gergely joining us on stage, who is the product owner of SaaS at KNIME, which essentially means he is the product owner for the Community Hub. So that is also a hint what he might be talking about. And finally, we will have Tobias Kötter. He is a product manager at KNIME. He's been here forever and he knows all about KNIME inside out. And we will see right now what he will be talking about, which is, of course, the last point here on the agenda. In terms of agenda, I will start with a little overview because, as I said earlier, we have a lot of new people joining us, and we want to make sure that everybody is roughly on the same page as to what KNIME is all about. Then Emilio will tell us how to build agents in KNIME Analytics Platform 5.5. And then Gergely will talk a little bit about a new offering that we are starting very soon, the KNIME Pro offering, which will also include an early access opportunity for you guys. And he will show us how to actually use the features that are part of that offering to deploy the agent that Emilio builds to the Community Hub. And then last but not least, Tobias will talk about all of the other things that changed in KNIME Analytics Platform 5.5, may it be new LLMs or new data sources that we now support. All right, a quick overview about KNIME. What is KNIME? KNIME is actually a company, and we have different products on offer. Our origins are actually in the life science area, where we built the KNIME Analytics Platform to help life science companies tackle their data problems. We started with the open source analytics platform. It's still open source and it's going to stay open source. And we extended that a little bit with a commercial offering on top of that. And we build it always for production environments right from the start. But if you are not a life scientist, don't worry. We really care about data workers. So what do we mean by data workers? Data workers are people that work with data or that try to solve data problems. And our goal is to build the tools so that you can use those tools to solve your data problems. And there's already lots of people all across the globe using the analytics platform and the KNIME Hub to do exactly that. To give you a little idea what kind of companies are using KNIME, you can see all of the logos here at the bottom of the screen, and you can head to knime.com if you want to learn more about that as well. Now, at the core of KNIME is always the workflow. And a workflow essentially describes how data flows through different stages, or in our case, nodes, and each node performs an operation on the data. It might be something as simple as reading a CSV file or filtering out a column. It might also be something like training a random forest or a deep learning model. And of course, you can also visualize data if you need to, or deploy it to some remote repository or a cloud platform. The idea here is that the barrier of entry is really low because it's not really, well, it's kind of a visual programming language, but it's easy to follow and get started because each of the nodes has a rather simple interface, and the workflow is a nice abstraction showing you how the data flows through the workflow, and you can inspect after each node what is going on. That's not only great in terms of explainability, but also great for auditability and to really understand what's going on. Another aspect is that it's reliable. You can just run that workflow again and again, and as long as you don't have something that is non-deterministic in there, it will produce the same output. And that also means that you can kind of try that out, and if a problem comes up, you might be able to talk to another colleague from a different department who can help you because it's kind of a common language that both of you share. Now, one question is, of course, where can we use this, right? What are the use cases for KNIME Analytics Platform and KNIME Business Hub or Community Hub? And there is actually a basically endless list. Here's a small excerpt, but that's by no means exhaustive. You might be in a marketing department and dealing with customer segmentation tasks, or in an IT and security department to detect network anomalies. It doesn't really matter. In the end, it's a data problem, so you can use KNIME software to solve that problem. And another question that might come up is, okay, cool, you have this software. How does that actually fit in up to our software stack and play with the other parts of that software stack? And for us, that was always clear that it's not something where we are the only tool. We will always integrate with other tools. For that reason, we have over 300 data sources that you can connect to, whether it's your Postgres database, Snowflake, or maybe a CSV file. You can read all of that in, combine the data inside of KNIME, and write it out again. Or deploy it as a service to, for example, Community Hub as a data app. A data app is really just a website that is powered by a workflow in the background. Or deploy it maybe to Power BI to display it there, because you might want to manage your dashboards and build your dashboards in Power BI. And in the middle, you can use the KNIME workflows and the over 4,000 nodes that we have on offer to do anything from simple CSV reading to training machine learning models or running workloads on a big data platform, for example. In the end, our goal is really not to just play along with the rest of the software stack, but ideally help you make that software stack play along even smoother than it does already. But of course, with the analytics platform, we are giving a lot of power into the hands of individuals. And if you're an enterprise, that's great because it drives innovation, but you also need to reduce risk, or rather manage risk, which means we need to govern what's going on with all of the workflows that we might have running everywhere in the company. So with the KNIME Business Hub, and for smaller teams also the KNIME Community Hub, we have a piece of software that kind of sits at the center where people can share their work, but you can also govern what's going on. You can control what kind of AI models are used. You can manage your secrets, and you can even audit your workflows automatically. All of that is possible with KNIME Business Hub. But now that we hopefully all have a little bit of an idea what's going on at KNIME and what the different parts of software we have on offer are, let's go over and talk about how to build agents in KNIME Analytics Platform 5.5. And for that, I will welcome Emilio to the stage. Hello, Emilio.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Please tell us how it's going.
Sure. I'm more than happy. Thank you, Adrian, for doing the nice introduction to KNIME. Hopefully now you have seen like all the many functionalities that we have, and among all the functionalities in KNIME Analytics Platform 5.5, we added a new agentic framework. This comes with an extension, the KNIME AI extension, and here I have put. I wanted to show you all the new nodes that we have added in this new release, KNIME Analytics Platform 5.5. As you might know, the agentic framework works with two entities, let's say. There is a tool entity, more tools usually, that are workflows that actually do the job. So you have a tool to, for example, place an order, a tool to book a room with a hotel, a tool to retrieve information about your customers. And then you have the agents that have access to those tools and are able to call them dynamically to solve a more complex task. So I grouped them into agent and tool nodes. In the agent sides, we have the two new nodes, the agent prompter and the agent chat view, to let you actually create the agentic system. And then we have the workflow to tool node, which is able to convert a workflow to a tool that can be used by an agent. On the tool side, on the other hand, we have two groups of nodes. One refers to the communication layer. And the communication layer is basically the layer that lets the agent communicate with the tool directly. For that, we reuse the configuration nodes, which were actually already there. We'll see them in a minute. And the new node that we added is the tool message output node. And also, we added new nodes, the workflow input and the workflow output nodes, for the data layer. And the data layer is actually a crucial part of the agentic framework. It will become clearer in a minute, but basically the data layer is able to let you move data from one tool to another to let it be processed by the KNIME workflows. For that, this was just the overview. Let's jump right into an example. I've created an inventory manager agent for you with the usage of the new chat view node. Before that, probably some of you are already familiar with those nodes. They are part of the AI extension nodes and let you connect to an LLM, so to a large language model. In this case, we are connecting to an LLM offered by OpenAI. So we use the OpenAI authenticator with some configuration. But of course, you can connect to many more providers. Actually, the full list will be shown in a minute. But you can connect to Anthropic, to Gemini, and many more. We also support local models, actually. And they all function more or less in the same way. You put some credential, you authenticate, you select a model offered by that provider. In this case, it's OpenAI. We are connecting to GPT 4.1, but as you can see, there are many more available. And then you use that model to kind of give power to the agent chat view node. And as you can see, as soon as I click to this node, it shows up here a nice interface where I can interact directly with the large language model. And I can ask questions like, for example, what can you help me with? Something like that. And now the agent will reply something like, yeah, I can help you with a wide range of topics, blah, blah, blah. I called it agent, but it's actually so far just an LLM. So I'm sending a string to an LLM, and the LLM is replying with something that more or less makes sense. As you can see, I can set a system message for my agent, an initial AI message. But this LLM is not, this agent, let's say, is not super powerful. So if I ask something like, can you place an order for me? Let's see what it replies, but it will say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Because as I said, this is an agent without many tools. So to make it really powerful, I need to provide some tools to it. So I need to give it the means to solve the task that I wanted to solve. In this case, the tools in KNIME Analytics Platform, they are given by the workflow to tool node, and then one more input to the agent chat view. So in here, I provided one more input containing a list of tools. And those tools are actually the ones that the agent can use to manage my inventory. For example, to compare the sales, to forecast sales, to get the inventories, etc. So now that the agent has those tools available, I can actually ask some questions. For example, let me ask which products will go out of stock in the next 14 days. Now the agent will process a little bit my request, and instead of just saying, I'm sorry, I can't manage your inventory, it will actually reply with something. It will actually say that this product and this product and this one will actually go out of stock in the next 14 days, actually giving you more information like what is the current stock and in how many days it will go out of stock. So how did it happen? What is the difference between asking it to this node and this one is, of course, the tools. So let me set one more option here, show call tools and result. And let me actually ask the same question again, but let's make it more explicit what's going on behind the scene. So in a minute, once the agent will provide the same, it provides the same answer in the end. Now with that option set, I can also see what happened while I was waiting. And in the meantime, my agent called actually two tools. It called the get inventory tool and the forecast sales tool. It's actually also explaining me what it's trying to do. So it's trying to retrieve the current inventory data. It generates the sales forecast for the next 14 days, and then it will compare the two tables, the inventory and the forecast sales, and then it will tell me which product will go out of stock. So it will call the first tool, the get inventory tool, and then it gets in output a data table containing the product ID, the item name, and then the current stock. At the same time, it will also call the forecast sales tool, and that tool retrieves another data table containing daily forecast for each product. So what I'm highlighting here, those are the column names of the data table generated by that tool. And then I can see that I have many columns, 1 day forecast, 2 days forecast, etc., and then the product ID. After that, it will take those two tables, the inventory and the forecast sales, and then it will send it to the compare sales inventory tool, where and then the tool is going to process those two data tables, and it will it actually replied here, saying that 4 products will go out of stock: the demo widget A, the super sprocket, etc. With all those information collected by calling all those different tools, my agent will reply to me saying that actually I checked the inventory, I checked the sales forecast, and those are the products that will go out of stock. Now, I've shown how those tools are called, and actually what I want to show you now is how those tools look like. And let's start from the workflow to tool node. For example, the sales inventory, compare sales inventory tool. What I told you is that this tool accepts 2 data tables, and that's what the agent did. The agent called this tool and give it the forecast sales and the inventory data table. And then I can see, if I double click on this tool cell, I can see that the tool has a description that actually explains what it does. This tool compares sales inventory from forecast data to get list of items that might go out of stock. This information, together with the parameters of the tools and the input that the tools accepts, are all available to the agent. So basically, this description, parameters, input, and output are all information used by the agent to say, I want to call this tool instead of this one, and then I want to call this one and this one. So this information is actually crucial when you define a tool. Let's see another one. For example, the forecast sales. When I double click, I can see the preview, and then it will see that the description says that the forecast sales tools will access sales history, generate sales forecasts for the specified next days, maximum 14 days. So there is one parameter, the parameter days, which is set by default to 14s, but of course the agent, when it calls the forecast sales tool, is able to set that parameter to get more or less days prediction. And also, this tool has one output table, sales forecast table, that contains the sales forecast for each product. So I'm you must be very descriptive when you set up your tools, so that all the information can be used by the agent to make a wise selection in the tools to be called. The other tool that I want to show you is the order products. And as you can see from these icons, by now probably they make more sense to you. These order products don't have any input or any output table. This order product only has 3 configurations. So the order product, as you can imagine, places an order for the specified product. And the parameters that this tool accepts in input are actually the supplier ID, so from which supplier I want to order my products, the quantity, so how many items I want, and then the product ID, which items am I trying to order from that supplier. When the agent decides to call this tool, then it must set all those parameters, and then the tool will take care of it. Actually, let's move to that tool, because I want to show you that actually the tool, at the end of the day, is nothing more than a KNIME workflow. So let me move to the order products workflow. This is the tool that I was talking about. And as you can see, there are 3 parameters here. As I said, the product ID, the supplier ID, and the quantity. And they are represented by those configuration nodes. Maybe the ones of you that are already a little bit familiar with KNIME have used those nodes already, because they're not very new. We are just repurposing them. Before, we used them only to put some configurations, for example, inside components. But now in the new agentic framework, if you put a string configuration, an integer configuration, a double configuration node, and at the first level of your workflow, then they will become parameters for the tools, and they will be exposed to the agent. So as soon as the agent calls the ordered product tools, the order products tool, then the agent will set the product ID, the supplier ID, and the quantity, and they will be available as flow variables inside the tool workflow. As you can see now, it will use just the default. the product ID is this one, the quantity is 1, and then the supplier is SUP01. Now, those are just flow variables inside my workflow, so the workflow gets executed, and it will use those parameters to, in this case, place an order for that specific supplier. And then I will get the order date, the delivery date, and then again, the product ID, the quantity, so what I just did. This is up to you, how the tool carries out the task it is programmed for. Then what I do, I just kind of summarize what the tool has done by putting it into a nice message. The order was successful, and the delivery date is this one, 16th of August. And then I give this information to the tool message output node. And this node does nothing more than taking what is inside this cell and giving it back to the agent that called the tool. So in this case, the agent is going to call the order products tool, set those parameters. The workflow will be executed with those parameters, and then the tool message output will send it back to the agent. Will send back to the agent this message here. So if I now go back to the inventory manager and go to the agent chat view and ask it actually place an order for me, 255 pieces of this product, and then the supplier that I want it for is the SUP4, for example. Let's execute. And now the order products, you will see that is called. So this is a tool call, with the following configuration. Product ID is SKU001, quantity is 245, as I requested, and then the supplier ID is SUP4. The workflow gets executed under the hood. We don't see that. And then it replies with order successful. Delivery date is August 4. And now this is what the agent gets back to me by summarizing what went on with the tool call. I can even follow up because it's a chat. So I can ask, for example, do the same, but from SUP03, for example, just place an order from another supplier. And now it will call again the order products with slightly different parameters, SUP03 as supplier ID. And then the order was also successful, and those products will arrive on August 15. So this was a first tool being called. I hope you are getting more or less the idea what is happening under the hood. But of course, tools can be even more complex than this one that only get parameters and reply with a message. Because I showed you already that tools might have input and output tables as well. So they can actually process data tables. Let's have a look at one tool, which is the forecast sales. That is a little bit more complex than the order products. In this case, I have some parameters, only one parameter in this case, the days for which I want the forecast to be. So in this case, the default is 14, but maybe I want a forecast of the sales just for the next 5 days. And then I can set this parameter. The agent can set that parameters when calling the tool. This is the parameter. There is a message output again with the tool message output saying that the prediction is complete. So it's not giving much information, actually. But the other thing, so the different thing of this tool is that there is a workflow output node. And the workflow output actually does nothing more than taking what happens inside the tool, in this case, this table containing all the forecasts for each product that I have in my inventory. It takes that table and then it gives it back to the calling agent. So this is an important thing, and that's why I want to stress it, and I'm gonna repeat it many times from now on. What happens in the configuration and in the tool message output is all stored in the conversation between the agent and the in the conversation with the agent and the tools and the user. So everything that happens here in this, we call it communication layer, is actually visible to the LLM and processed by the LLM. On the other hand, what happens in the output, in the data layer, so those data here being output by the workflow output, those are not visible by the LLM, but they're only accessible they're only being used by the agent, but they're not visible inside. What do I mean by that? I mean that if I go to the inventory manager and I actually ask that question, so the question was, place an order. No, which products will go out of stock in the next 14 days. Let's skip again. So it will call this forecast sales. If you remember what I've shown, is that here, this forecast sales, when it gets called, in the conversation, I can only see the column names and then the column types, but I cannot see what is inside that data table because that information is not available to the LLM, is not available in the conversation. But to show that a little bit better, let me move to a slightly different version of this inventory manager agent, where instead of using the agent chat view, I want to show the agent prompter node. So this node is very similar to the agent chat view, but the only difference is that instead of having an interactive interface that is shown before, that was shown before here at the bottom, I can only ask one user message here in the configuration. So I can set the system message, which is how the agent should behave every time. And then I can ask one user message. In this case, forecast the sales for the next 14 days. As soon as I ask that message, then again, the same procedure happens. So the user asks the question, the agent, the AI, decides that I should call this tool, the forecast sales, with this configuration, 14. And here it's actually explaining me what it's doing again. And then as soon as the forecast sales is completed, so because it says prediction complete, I get a data repository update. So the agent understands that the tool has been called, and then the tool has produced a new data table containing those columns. But again, it's not visible what is inside the data table. It only knows that there is a new data table containing sales forecast for the next 14 days. And now it replies, yes, the data table is available, blah, blah, blah. The difference with the agent prompter is that I can also see some output, and I can actually, if I go to the first output of this node, I can actually see that data table, and potentially I can use it in the next of my continue my workflow starting from there. For example, I can put, I don't know, a column filter here, and then build my workflow starting from the data table produced by an agent prompter that has executed a tool that produces the data table. Sorry, that was a bit convoluted, but basically the agent prompter executes a tool, the tool produces a data table, and then I can continue using it in my workflow. And of course, the other thing is that the agent prompter has the data table available without, again, looking into it, but the data table is there in the data repository, and it can be used as an input to another tool. So let's see that in another example. Again, I have the agent prompter, same tools available as before, sales inventory, forecast sales, get inventory, etc. And now I want to give a data table in input to my agent prompter. In this case, the input table of the agent prompter is actually some sales forecasts that come from another source. So they look slightly different to what I've shown before. And what I'm asking my agent is that I'm giving you in input some data table containing sales forecast for the next 14 days. So don't call that tool anymore because you have it already available. Show me the products that will go out of stock. So now the agent is intelligent enough to just call the get inventory tool. The get inventory will produce a data table containing the products that I have available and then the current stock. And then it will call the compare sales inventory tool, giving it an input, the inventory data that it just got from the tool that it just called, and the sales forecast that I provided in input. So those two data tables will be the input of the tool call that the agent is calling, and then the agent will then the tool will be executed, and then you can see that I get a slightly different result this time. And as you can see, the compare sales inventory has two input table that are the ones provided by the workflow, by the agent, as soon as the agent decides to call this tool. And that was the part that I want to show you for this demo. So I think the thing that I want to stress a lot is the difference between the the communication layer and the data layer, because the communication layer is everything that happens in this part, so between the configuration and the tool message output, that is visible by the LLM and is processed by the LLM, while the data layer is everything that happens between the workflow input and the workflow output. And those are all your data tables that are not visible by the LLM and are just processed by the tool, by the workflow, by KNIME nodes. So your data is safe, your data never leaves your laptop, never leaves your workflows, actually. And then the agent doesn't really process it, but just decides, I want to use this data table as the input for this tool, and then the tool does the rest. So KNIME nodes do the rest. That was more or less actually what I wanted to show you in this demo. I actually have a little sneak preview, if I still have 2 minutes. Because again, we are working, and the release happened not long ago, but we are still working on improving this AI extension and improving what you can do with the agentic framework. And actually, this is again a sneak preview, is not available yet, but what we are working on at the moment is to add also views inside your agent chat view. So when the agent calls a tool, that you can also embed some views in the chat. And also, as you can see, we're also refactoring a little bit how the tool calls are shown. We're adding a minimap, so more things are actually coming. So stay tuned, and we will surprise you soon with the next release. With that said, Adrian, please come back on stage.
That's pretty cool. Thank you, Emilio.
Yes.
There is probably a lot of question marks for many people, because even though it was a nice demo, it's a lot at once. So is there maybe a place where people can learn about how to do this? Maybe, I don't know, a place where they can find the demo and go through it themselves?
Sure. Yes. It's actually the demo that I've shown is actually part of our extensions here, of our collection, KNIME for Agentic AI. If you go to KNIME Community Hub, KNIME for Agentic AI collection, you can find all our nodes, the new ones, and then all the workflows that I've shown. This is the inventory manager agent, but you can see that there are many more available on Community Hub.
Thank you very much, Emilio.
Welcome.
That was also a great cue to go over to our next presenter, which will be Gergely. He is joining from Berlin, and he will tell us a bit more about the new KNIME Pro offering, which will be available on KNIME Community Hub coming soon. Gergely, stage is yours.
Hello, and thank you, Adrian. Welcome, everyone. So I am hoping you are enjoying the webinar already, and seeing the agents and workflows, how they work together, already sparked a few ideas for yourself to try out. Now that we have seen how this works, how the workflows are made, how the whole thing is built up, I'm going to show a little bit the second half of the story, so how these workflows can be shared and automated. And for this, I'm actually going to show something really exciting, which we've never shown before publicly, is our new subscription, or our new offering that is designed specifically for individuals, KNIME Pro. And after that, when I've shown it, I'm going to move on and actually invite all of you guys to participate in an early access program for that for free. But before, let's talk why KNIME Pro, how did we get there, and how does it really relate to agents and workflows. So we have on our Community Hub the KNIME team offering since a few years, and we have execution up there for 1.5 years. And we get a lot of really great feedback about that. People love the features, how it can automate workflows, etc. But many of you told us, hey, I'm working alone with KNIME in my company. I'm a freelancer. I run my agency, or I just want to use KNIME for my side projects. And for that, I don't really need a team. I don't want to collaborate. I just want to get all these features, but work alone. So this is what KNIME Pro is for. And without further talking, I'm just going to jump right into a demo. So here I am on Community Hub. This is my user interface for my KNIME Pro account. And let's start with an easy example. So we have seen the inventory manager agent just now, how it's built up and what it does. All I did is I uploaded it to my own KNIME Pro account. And let's just say I built this agent, but I actually want this to be used by others. I want to share it with my teammates, or I just want to use it more conveniently when I'm not on my computer. How can I do that? So there is a concept in KNIME, because there are many of you new here. It's called data apps. Basically, you can build an interactive user interface through widgets and put it in front of your workflow. All you have to do is add them to your workflow, connect the nodes just as you would anyways, put it in a component, and it works. So these data applications can handle anything that a KNIME workflow can. So basically almost everything. And they can be easily deployed and shared. And I'm just going to show you how to. So we have a simple version of the inventory manager agent that you've just seen. And all I have to do is say, hey, I want to deploy this as a data application. I can give it a category, description, or ask if there's something wrong with it, send me an email. I did this already before, so I have it deployed right here. And if as you see, I can edit it. And the best thing you can do with it is you can share this with anyone on Hub. So the end users who are actually going to run this workflow in the background and see just the user interface, they don't need to be paid users. They don't need to sign up, learn about workflows. They just get the data insights at the end. And let me show you what they would see after we build this workflow. So if I'm someone who is not really interested in the inside of a workflow, I'm not building it, or I just haven't learned it yet, but I still need the information, I can just come to this data portal. In different categories, it is whatever is shared with me, I can find it. And in this case, I would just come here as someone from the inventory management team, click the inventory manager workflow or agent. And in the background, my workflow is loaded. It's already executing, and I'm already getting the user interface, which was, as you've seen before in what Emilio was showing, this is the version with the chat interface. So I can just try it right here. Hey, what items do I have in inventory? Let's just ask a simple question. In the background, the workflow is executing just as you've seen it. It says, I have retrieved the data. What are you interested in? And I can tell them that I need the item names and the number in stock. And I can just ask it, continue the conversation, and I get all these insights without actually understanding the agent, understanding the tools, or understanding how the workflow was built. Of course, data applications can be used for agents and workflows that include agents, but they can be used for more traditional different use cases. Another one I like to show off is, let's just say my boss needs a new report every time he goes into this meeting. And I have to prepare it every time. Instead of that, I can just create a data app, and whenever he comes in and he needs fresh data for his decisions, he can just click the data app, select whatever they need. It's interactive. I can build in buttons, file uploads, refreshes, filters, anything basically, and they get on-demand fresh information whenever they need it, instead of me having to create this every time myself. So these are data applications that you get with KNIME Pro. So once again, it's a great way to share on-demand data or on-demand data analysis and insights for people who are not really familiar with KNIME. But what else can I do? What if I want something a little bit more automated? I have a few options. So one of them is I just created a workflow as an example, which is basically the same inventory manager, but as Emilio showed, it has an agent prompter at the end instead of the chat view, because this is going to run in the background. After the agent prompter, I could give it an email sending node. I could save the output to the database, create a PDF report out of it, etc., whatever I would like to do. But in this case, I just left it like this for the demo, and I can say, hey, please create a schedule for me. I already created that, so let's take a look. So in this schedule, in this case, I asked it to run this workflow every Monday at 6 from next Monday on. So every 7 days until next year. I even gave it a few extra filters when to run it and when not to run it. And I asked it to send me an email if there's a problem. So every Monday I would get a inventory forecast from my workflow automated right away. The third option. So we've seen on demand, we've seen fixed schedules. The third option, which is coming in the early access in the first few weeks, is deploying a workflow, agentic or not, as a service. What is it used for? When is it useful for? So basically, the next level of integration, a little bit more complex, is when you want a trigger to cause a workflow run. So you want to react to something happening. A few examples in my own work is I'm a product owner. I'm getting a lot of requests, bug reports, questions, etc. through Zendesk, Salesforce, emails, etc. I can just build a workflow, an agent in the workflow that would get this with tools, figure out what they are about, and send me a Slack message with, hey, this is what I got, this is what you should do at the end. And for this, I would need to deploy my workflow as a REST service so I can integrate it. And once I've done that, I already get an open API documentation about it, how I can connect it, how I can authenticate. It's pretty easy to set up right after that. All right, so these were the three options for automation and sharing. And of course, behind the scenes, my favorite feature. So all of these workflows I talked about, they were using agents and they had to authenticate to the OpenAI API to be able to talk to it. And for that, I was using the secret store. In the secret store, you can securely store many different kinds of secrets, whether it's generic credentials, OAuth 2, etc., or something specific like Salesforce or Databricks. You can store it all here. It's secure, it's encrypted. And the best part is once you store it here, you can use them in your workflows. Just use the secret retriever node, and you never have to change the secrets in all of your workflows again. So if I'm using this in all these three examples and I need a new open AI API key, I just change it here and I don't have to touch the workflows again. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, let me go back to my slides and let's see a little bit of a summary about what KNIME Pro is and how it connects. So KNIME Pro is an offering again for individuals. It lets you share data insights with end users, with people who are not really KNIME users. It lets you automate your workflows and your agents via schedules or even via REST integrations. You can manage your credentials securely and in a central space. It gives you version control for your workflows in an unlimited way. And of course, you can assist your workflow building with KAI. And now the early access. So if you're interested, if you liked it, if this is something that would work for you, I would invite every one of you to try it. What do you get if you sign up for the early access program? You actually get 60 days of free usage or free subscription of the KNIME Pro. You get 2,000 execution credits, which on our smallest executor is 2,000 minutes of workflow runtime. So hopefully enough to play around with it and figure it out if this is something for you. All you have to do is in the webinar on the left, you would see on the left, you would see a link to sign up for the KNIME Pro Early Access. You have to go there, sign up through the form, and you will get an invite email, and then you can just start using it. We are only taking for the early access in the first round 100 participants, so you better be quick if you want to sign up. If you do, please send all the feedback, all the learnings, all the use cases you tried with it our way, so we can make this the best offering we can by the time it's widely released to the public. Thank you. And this was what I wanted to show you about KNIME Pro and how you can share and automate workflows and agents with it.
Thank you, Gerge. That was really insightful. It sounds like KNIME Pro is kind of plugging a little hole that we had there, like this individual contributor-sized hole. For me, if I'm kind of putting myself into the shoes of such a person, I would be wondering, okay, so it's like early access, 60 days, but then afterwards, like, how does this continue? What's, for example, the price point, right? Because if I'm an individual, I might need to know about that as well.
Yeah, of course. That's what I would ask first as well. So yes, as you said, this is actually positioned right between the free usage of the KNIME Analytics Platform and the team plan. After the 60 days, if you want to continue using it, all you have to do is click subscribe. The price point will be around $20 or 20 euros for the subscription per month. And the execution is a pay-as-you-go, so it contains 2 hours of execution per month, and above that, it's 5 cents per minute when you run workflows. The prices are subject to change until our wide release, so also feedback on that is appreciated.
Awesome, thank you very much, Gerge. Then we are not done yet, right? So far, we talked about agents, we talked about KNIME Pro and Community Hub, how that can be used. But now, I also said that in the beginning, this is also the What's New webinar kind of for the Analytics Platform 5.5. And from Berlin, again, Toby will join us, who will talk about all of these changes and functionality that we added there.
Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, thank you, and welcome, everybody. Okay, so out of all the nice, cool things that we integrated into the KNIME Analytics Platform, I have selected 2 highlights. And the first highlight is basically that we have added more LLM models into the KNIME Analytics Platform. So on the left-hand side, you see all of the models that we have already integrated with, like OpenAI, Amazon Bedrock, all of the standard ones, basically. And with the latest release, we have now added 3 new models. One is Claude from Anthropic, and Gemini from Google, and Watson X from IBM. And you can use them all together with the AI integration, and then use them also in the great AI agent framework that was shown by Emilio. And the second highlight is all about data. I mean, what can you do with agents if they cannot access your data? It's very important. And we, starting from the early days, we have integrated with all the popular data frameworks and databases and processing frameworks. You can see them all on the left-hand side, basically, from all the big cloud providers to database providers like Snowflake and so on, file handling integrations like Box and so on. And the major new addition that we have added with this version is Microsoft Fabric, which is kind of the new kid on the block here, and that is used or looked at least by a lot of enterprise users that ask us to integrate with that. And now we have the first integration here, and I very shortly want to show that a short demo about that. So this is the KNIME Analytics Platform, and here you start with authenticating against Microsoft using the Microsoft Authenticator node, or you can use the secret retriever node that Gergely mentioned already. So to access then your Microsoft authentication token from the secret store. And once you are connected, it's very easy. You simply select the Microsoft Fabric Workspace connector and select the workspace you want to work with. And once you are connected to the workspace, then, for example, you can start to connect to a Microsoft Fabric data warehouse. And this is basically a SQL database running onto your on your Fabric data. And this is integrated with the database framework in KNIME, which allows you to visually assemble SQL statements. So you don't need to write your own SQL. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. And all of the execution is basically pushed down into Microsoft Fabric. So as long as you have these square ports here, the execution and the processing happens within Fabric at scale. And only once you execute, for example, the DB reader node, the data gets pulled into your KNIME workflow. And then from there, you can mix and match it with all the existing nodes that we have in KNIME. The second integration that we have with Microsoft Fabric, which I think is also one of the most important, is the Microsoft OneLake connector. And OneLake is basically the data layer in Fabric. That's where all of your data resides in Fabric. And they introduced also, or they use a new data format there, which is called Delta Tables. And this is another new addition in the new version, is the Delta Table Reader. And that one allows you basically to directly read Delta tables from OneLake so that you don't need to pay for any additional services like having a warehouse running or something like this, which is pretty neat, I think. And since it's a file handling connector, with the OneLake connector, you can, of course, also use all of the other file nodes that we have in KNIME, like listing files, deleting files, moving files, and also all of the reader and writer nodes that we have, like the Parquet reader, the CSV reader, JSON reader, writer, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty straightforward, like with all the other file systems that we integrate with. The last service from Fabric that we integrate with is Power BI. So we had the Send to Power BI node for quite some time, which allows you to create a new Power BI model. But now we also integrated the other way around. So if you have a colleague that already created a semantic model in Power BI, put a lot of effort into that one, and you want to use that data in your KNIME workflow, you can do that now with the simple Power BI model reader. And this one allows you then to simply select the model you want to read from, for example, and then you can execute also or put in a query, a Power Query, so that you can also select only parts of the data. And the last node that we integrated is, or that we released, is the Power BI model refresher node. And the idea behind that node is that your data resides in a third-party system, like a file system or a database, and you manage that via a KNIME workflow. But the Power BI model does not know, okay, the data has updated. And that's why we integrated that node or included that node. And this way you can say then, okay, Power BI, please refresh your model because we have updated the data in the external database. And with that, I want to go back to Adrian.
Thank you, Toby. That sounds like it was really a long time in the making a little bit, right? And requested by many enterprise users. Just to tie this a little bit back to the beginning, well, not to the complete beginning, but to Emilio's part, where he was talking about agents. You mentioned like this all integrates with KNIME. So does this also mean it's just something that an agent could use to, for example, update this Power BI model by updating first the data that it uses?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like Emilio already mentioned, I mean, it's all nodes. So they are nodes and agents are just workflows. So yeah, you can use all of the Fabric nodes also in agents and tools then.
Very nice. Good. With that, thank you, Toby, for all the stuff that you showed. We have a few more minutes left to actually talk about a few questions that came in. The first question is for Emilio, I believe. And it's regarding all the things that you showed, because we already kind of showed the AI collection, but is there maybe more content people can look at? Maybe something more educational as well, where it's not just, here's the demo, play with it, which hopefully also helps, but it's more step by step.
Yes, definitely. It was a lot to be condensed into just one little hour of webinar. That's why, if you can see in my screen that I'm sharing now, I'm sharing our learning management system, where we have released not long ago 3 new courses, 3 new Getting Started courses, all around AI. Because actually, what I've talked today is just the agentic part, which is just one way of using AI into KNIME workflows. But you can also, for example, just include LLMs in your normal data workflows. We can do reg systems. We can talk about governance and all this kind of stuff. That's why have a look at our 3 courses. They're all getting started. They are pretty fast to do actually. So to get you up to speed with using AI with KNIME. Plus, actually, if you take one of our courses, probably you're also interested in getting certified. And so you can take an exam at the end of the course and gain a badge that then you can share. Usually you need to pay for those exams, but we are currently running a 90 days data skills certification challenge. So have a look at that as well, because for the next couple of months, exams will actually be free. So that's a nice opportunity to learn something and also get certified, get your skills certified. Yes.
Amazing. Cool. Is it something I can also share on LinkedIn or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, the badge is shareable, so it's something that you can add to your LinkedIn profile.
Awesome. Great. We also have another question. This one is actually for Gege, and it's about KNIME Pro. Can you maybe quickly reiterate kind of the package? I mean, you had the slide up, but it was a lot of all at once. So
yeah, I can go through it again easily.
Yeah.
Easy. So with KNIME Pro, if you sign up, you get your own storage in the cloud. You can deploy data apps, which again, you can share data insights with anyone. They don't need a paid user. You can schedule your workflows for automation. You can automate your workflows through triggers or REST calls. You get versioning for your workflows, so you never lose versions again. You actually get the secret store for secure and easy secret management, and still you can build it Kai through Community Hub.
Awesome. I hope that answered that question for everybody. If not, keep your eyes peeled. We will release more content on that very soon. There's one last question before we wrap this one up, and it's actually more from the enterprise side of things. So we talked a little bit about kind of governance at the beginning. I mentioned that on this kind of business hub slide. The question was, okay, now we can build these agents. Is there a way to kind of add governance on top of that and making sure that everything works the way we want it to work?
Sure. Yes. So I guess we are going more to the enterprise level of things, and at that point, the other commercial offerings, so KNIME Business Hub, comes into play, and that actually offers some governance tools. For example, the GenAI Gateway that let an enterprise select at the enterprise level which kind of LLMs should be used in the workflows and act as a gateway where all the LLM requests will go through. Together with that, there are other kind of tools that you can integrate, talking about governance, for example, the Presidio anonymizer nodes, or the secret store that also Gary was talking about to manage all your credentials. And what comes also to my mind is the GIScard extension to kind of evaluate your models. Yeah, much more actually.
Yeah, there's many things, but GIScard is one that can also tie in nicely with kind of a continuous process where you can monitor how your agent is behaving over time, because models also change in the background and then things might change, but you can run this, for example, in a schedule to check, okay, does this still reply the way it did when I built it, or does this kind of go off the rails a little bit over time? So all of that is also possible with a KNIME Business Hub. Also KNIME Community Hub, by the way. With that, it's time to say goodbye, but we hope that you enjoyed this webinar, and let's stay in touch. There's many ways that you can get in touch with us. Head to knime.com, for example. You can find us, of course, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, as well as on YouTube. And before you kind of leave here, make sure to click the button in the navigation bar for KNIME Pro Early Access. We will also keep this up a little bit so you can find it, and have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.